Because I said, you know what, I'm going to let him be the driver. I'm going to let him lead us. But then he makes this huge mistake, and I'm like, now I got to pay my mom back. I'm not going to make this her loss. I'm going to work my ass off so I can go back and pay her. And so we started dating. I was 17 at the time, dated for 3.5 years, got married. I was 20, he was 23. And the interesting thing is we never really talked about our goals. We never really talked about what do we want to achieve. We didn't talk about real estate. He's come from a family of entrepreneurs, and they're always coming up with different ideas. When he was growing up, he was doing all these um, pyramid schemes. He was always trying to make money and hustle and build something, right? He just hadn't found the right avenue at that time, so that's why he was trying all these different things. Versus me, I grew up in a very traditional household. You go to school, you get a degree, you get a job, work for 40 hours, then you retire and do whatever. So to me, this whole concept of going off and starting a business was very unfamiliar, and it made me a little bit uncomfortable because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm gonna have this degree and I'm gonna work really hard. Does that mean that he's gonna stay at home and I'm gonna be supporting him? Um, Clearly, that didn't happen. But it was something very real that I've thought about. But I was also probably a little young and um, you know in love, I guess, and didn't think about it. And so, like I said, we didn't discuss our financial goals. We didn't talk about what do we want to do as a couple, which is something that, looking back now, I actually think we got really lucky. But how many, by the way, I know there's few marrieds. How many of you are married or in a serious relationship? Okay, so majority. There's a few singles. Um, so, yeah, for those of you who are married, I don't know if you guys have had that conversation. What are your goals as a couple? What are you trying to achieve as a couple? Um, but if you haven't had those conversations, it's not too late, right? You can still do that. Start today, start tomorrow. When you go home and you see your significant other, start that conversation. Um, it's very important that you're aligned on your goals, because otherwise you're going to be coming to these events, boot camps. You're going to be learning, you're going to be seeking that knowledge, and they're not. They're going to be at home doing something else, and then when you go home, you're going to be very excited and you're going to tell them about all these things that happened this weekend, but they're not going to have that excitement because they weren't here. They didn't experience it. They don't understand what you're trying to achieve because they weren't here. So anyways, that's I think that's something that every couple should do. And for those of you who are single, when you're looking for a partner, make sure that you have that conversation and make sure you're not uh, just falling in love and letting love guide you into that relationship. Make sure you're aligned on your goals. So, as I mentioned, been married 11 years. When we first got married, Ben was doing the cleaning, um, janitorial services. I had just graduated university. I went to school for finance. A little bit later, I went back for my MBA. I'm currently working at Quicken Loans, so I still have a job, even though I'm married to that guy. Um, and it's been a journey, right? I think I grew up in a household where kind of the women were the boss, if you will. They kind of made all the financial decisions. They were the drivers in the family. So I naturally was like, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And I want to be the driver and I'm, going to tell you what to do. Not like that. But we did butt heads because he is also a driver, as you can all tell. He is very strong in his opinion. And when he believes that something is the right thing, he will do it, whether I agree with it or not. Um, we've learned how to deal with that over the years. But so we were butting heads quite a bit. Like I said at the beginning, he was doing the cleaning, and I'm like, well, do you really want to do that? Shouldn't you go and get a degree and work for somebody else like me? Um, and it was a point of conflict. But over time, he's I don't want to say convinced me, but we've talked about it, and I now understand why it wasn't the right fit for him at the time. I didn't understand it back then. I do now. Um, Another thing too is while I was going to school, university to get my degree, he was reading books. He was coming to these events. He was seeking knowledge from a different source. And I never believed that, oh, you're going to this boot camp is the same thing as me getting my education. I always thought, oh, you're just going to hang out with people and whatever, network, and that's all great, but you're not really learning anything. Because again, I grew up very traditional. You have to go to school. Um, so over time, I realized that, oh, he is starting to pick up a few things during these different boot camps, these events that he's going to. So I think eventually, I don't know what year, 2009, 2010, sometime around then, we went to a Rich Dad seminar. And they start out with the free night, then you go to the $500 weekend, and then we bought a $25,000 package, US money. So um, it was a very difficult thing for me to do at that time because, again, I didn't believe in that form of education because I wasn't exposed to it. And I don't know how he convinced me, but I was like, okay. It was actually not for real estate; it was for stock trading. But I'm like, okay, if you're gonna do this thing, I trust you. I believe in you. I know you're gonna hustle and you're gonna figure it out. He didn't figure it out. So $25,000 US for education, and then with the money that he lost in the stock market, it was probably close to $100,000. Um, the worst part, it wasn't our money. We borrowed money from my parents. So he lost my parents' money in a very costly mistake. I lost trust big time, right? Because I said, you know what, I'm going to let him be the driver. I'm going to let him lead us. But then he makes this huge mistake, and I'm like, now I got to pay my mom back. I'm not going to make this her loss. I'm going to work my ass off so I can go and back and pay her. So I did. Um, like I said, I've been working the whole time, and we live under the philosophy of save one and then use one, right, for living expenses and whatever. And so I went back to work and I paid my mom every single penny because I didn't want that to be her loss. But that was a very expensive mistake. And it was actually interesting because I was thinking about this. When he first told me, it was like one of those day trading thing, and I don't even know how much he lost in one day. But I come home and I'm like, he tells me, and I'm thinking, I can either be really, really, really angry, or I can just be supportive. Because at the end of the day, he's already feeling like crap. The last thing that I can do right now, or I should do right now, is beat him up even more over the fact that he lost all this money. I'm like, what's the point? It's like beating a dead horse, right? So even though it was very hard and very painful, um, I, you can tell me otherwise, but I think I was pretty supportive at that point. Um, but it was a costly mistake. And so over the following years, when Ben was like, I want to go to this seminar and I want to go do this, and it's going to cost this amount of money, I was very against it. I'm like, no, remember what happened 2 years ago? Remember that thing you spent money on and then you lost all that money? It ain't happening. Um, Especially because, again, I had to work really hard to pay that money back. I had to earn it by working hours, right? Hours for somebody else. And so eventually over time, he started reading more books. He was like, hey, can I buy this book? It's $20 on Amazon. I'm like, okay, whatever, $20. It's not like you're spending 20 grand, right? So go ahead, whatever, order the book. He starts reading more books. And then, of course, YouTube came around. Or there's more information on YouTube, so he's watching all this free stuff. And I think this is probably about 3-ish, 4 years ago, maybe. I was like, oh, whatever he's doing, whether it's the books, the YouTube, wherever he's getting this free information from, it seems to be working because he's starting to make more money. He's now investing full time in real estate. The cleaning company was pretty much dissolved at that point. So I started trusting him again with our money. So like I said, he was learning and growing every single day. He was not satisfied with the status quo. He's always like, what can we do more? How can we push more? How can we get there? And I came to the conclusion that he's doing this in his growth, but I was over here. So what does this look like? Separation. That's right. And even though I was doing really well at my job, even though I was getting training, leadership, whatever I was doing, I still realized that I wasn't doing what I needed to be doing. What I needed to do was to grow my mind the same way that he is. I needed to work on my mindset so that I can help him with his, so I can have quality conversations with him. When we're at the dinner table and he's like, oh, so this happened and there's this problem and I'm trying to solve this and I can't figure it out. And he's talking a million miles an hour. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I got nothing. I don't know how to solve this problem for you. That's when I realized that, okay, I'm not being the best partner that I can be in this moment. And that's because I haven't grown with him. I haven't grown my mindset with him. So I recognized that about myself, and I started just listening to different podcasts, trying to read more books, whatever I can, have those quality conversations with him, even if I'm like, I have no idea, I don't know what to offer you right now, but at least I'm moving in that direction. I'm having the conversation with him. And little by little, I've seen an improvement in my personal growth. Am I where I need to be? Absolutely not. I think as everybody in this room, I believe you all need to grow and I need to grow. Every single day, we need to be better than the persons that we were yesterday. Learn a different skill set, learn something else, mentally, whatever it is. I truly believe that we should always become better and seek whatever it is that the knowledge and whatever it is that we need.